I want to give an update from the last time I came here. Last time I came here, we had written probably 20 letters. Following our, session here, we had written a further 40 letters across board. All policymakers, philanthropists, development partners. It would surprise you to realize that so far, we haven't gotten any additional funding for COVID-19. However, three entities have indicated very, very strong interest in what we are doing. And we're now talking about putting together the rest of the documentation for us to attract the funding. These three entities, none of them is Nigerian. None of them is Nigerian. I was speaking to a very senior colleague that's based in a francophone country in West Africa. And he told me, Obi, what are your people doing? It seems like Nigeria as a nation is starstruck by interventions from Oyibo land. You guys have it. Why are you guys not harnessing what you have? I felt embarrassed. I must say, I felt embarrassed. But that encapsulates, what the position is now. Going forward, I think, there is evidence that, our local interventions have potential. No doubt about it. We've got a product in NIPRID. Our product has gone through all the preclinical stages. We're looking at doing the clinical studies. And we've also put up a framework for validating studies. And we've made that framework very robust. We have a broad-based intake questionnaire that addresses things like ownership, that addresses things like mechanism of action, that addresses things like various active ingredients and excipients or inactive ingredients that are included. We've also put together a body of eminent and very erudite professors outside NIPRID across the nation that can act as an advisory body during the validation process. But honestly, without funding, we're not going to go very far.
Dr. Adugwe, thank you so much. We'll now be going to our Enugu Center where Professor Ernest Ugo is waiting. You've heard the conversation from our guest in the studio. Would like to have your own assessment on COVID-19 and the search for a cure in Nigeria. We hear of the Madagascar remedy and all that. Don't we need to look inwards?
Thank you very much. What is happening now in Nigeria is very interesting. I want to thank the government for the interest they are showing now in traditional, complementary, and alternative medicine. We've been talking over the years. I am a member of the Ministerial Committee for Complementary and Alternative Medicine. And then my organization has a consultative status with the United Nations, with particular emphasis on homeopathy and complementary and alternative medicine. Definitely, we are very pleased with what is happening. I am representing homeopathy, and luckily enough, homeopathy works with other branches of natural medicine. Our medicines work with the other natural medicines. We don't have any drug reaction, adverse reaction, interaction. Even ozone therapy, we all work with all these systems. What is interesting with the issue of Madagascar is that there is political will. That is it. There's political will from the part of the president and the committee in charge of traditional medicine, herbal medicine in Madagascar. Artemisia annua is in Nigeria. We can cultivate it and we can develop it. The homeopathic medicines don't have any problem because they are already recognized. Even the NAFDAC has listed most of the medicines that are being used by other countries. It's just to give us the support, the governmental support, so that we'll be able to sensitize our people. Take, for instance, the arsenicum album, which the Indians are insisting, advertising, that is an immune booster. We completely agree with them. And these things are produced in Nigeria. Arsenicum album is produced in Nigeria. The raw stocks that is used by the British in the alternative medical circles is produced in Nigeria. The Syncona officinalis, that of course is used for malaria treatment, is produced in Nigeria. We produce these things. So definitely the development in Nigeria now is very, very, very encouraging. We should all work together, and then the government should also, you can see everybody is pointing at funding. The government should also encourage these alternative doctors, complementary doctors, and herbalists to be able to move ahead and produce something that we can use in Nigeria. Cuba, for instance, has a very low rate of mortality during this COVID-19 pandemic. Why? They are combining both homeopathic medicines, herbal medicines, and orthodox medicines, and everybody is encouraged. When this pandemic started in Nigeria and worldwide, I and some of my colleagues were afraid that what is happening today will happen. You see, every day the rate is increasing, the rate is going higher, with all the measures being taken, with all the lockdown, with everything. And we're very happy that the government has now decided to encourage everybody. That is the way to go about it. We have the remedies, we manufacture the remedies, and these remedies, we're not claiming that they cure COVID-19. We are saying that they are immune boosters. After all, the vaccine the whole world is waiting for, what is it? Is it not immunotherapy? It's still to boost the immune system, create antibodies for the body to be able to fight the virus, the viral infection. So that is what I have to contribute this morning in my opening speech, that my own branch of medicine, the homeopathic medicine, can help and can work together with other branches of medicine to arrest this situation. Thank you very much.
Professor Ernest Ugo, I still would like to stay with you. You've spoken about the encouragement that government is providing now. Would you like to elaborate on that so that we have a sense of what it is? Because there are complaints, have you heard from the other guests, of inadequate funding or improperly targeted funding. So what kind of encouragement are you receiving now?
The first thing the government has done, I'm not holding brief for government, but the first thing they have done, which requires congratulation, is that the Federal Ministry of Health has created a department of traditional, complementary, alternative medicine. And there is a director there with a full, which is a type of recognition. And I'm aware that the government is also planning to encourage all the states to create a department of complementary, traditional, and alternative medicine in the ministries of health. That is the first encouragement. The second encouragement is the NTA is owned by the federal government. If the government didn't support your effort, they wouldn't have allowed us to be here. So we thank them also for giving us that opportunity. But unfortunately, the way things are going it's already a laid down plan over the years. So you don't blame the current government. If, for instance, we have this issue of COVID-19 patients, why shouldn't you allow the herbal, complementary, and alternative medical practitioners also to get involved in treating these patients? At least invite them and get these remedies and do whatever you want to do, whether it's clinical trial, as quickly as possible, and then let these remedies be used like it's being used in other countries. If you go to India today, there is a ministry, the Ministry of Ayush. This ministry is in charge of traditional, the herbal, complementary, and alternative medicine. They have undertaken some clinical trials on homeopathic remedies and other phyto medicines, and they're having results. And they are also allowed now to use some of these affected patients for the clinical trial. But here in Nigeria, there is fear. We would allow these people to use these medicines. You would allow them to come in contact with these patients. Then how do we develop? How do we progress? So that is what I am saying. The government is trying its best, but in the area of funding, they have to support all these practitioners by inviting them, getting the medicines, and subjecting them to tests as quickly as possible so that we can use to help our people. The rate at which this COVID-19 is going, I'm afraid they may be under lockdown. If this thing continues to rise, the way it's going, the government may be forced again to have a lockdown again, general lockdown, which is going to be more serious. So it is important that we start now to incorporate all these branches of medicine and then release some fund, monitor what is happening so that we can get to our destination. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Professor Ernest. Back here in the studio, you talked about releasing some funds, looking into alternative medicines in Nigeria. I will now come to Professor Adugwe. Dr. Adugwe, a lot of patients have been discharged. It comes to mind, what has been used to treat these patients that have been discharged? Can you have an insight into that?
So, before I answer that question, I'd just like to follow on very quickly from the last contributor. In India, they don't only have a ministry that's focused on traditional medicine. They have an entire state that's focused on medicinal plant production. That's how serious they take phytomedicines. And these guys rake in billions of dollars from that industry every year. Regarding funding, there is an Igbo saying that Oburo diokbala bulunnaya madnine solukwana, meaning that it's not the first son who killed the father, right? So the responsibility for burying the father does not lie only on the first son. If you look at the coronavirus response across board, you have had the federal government putting in something, you have had development partners putting in something, you've had philanthropists putting in something, you've had state governments putting in something. In terms of the focus of bringing phytomedicines and African traditional medicines into the mainstream in the coronavirus fight, the central government, the federal government, has indicated the need for prioritization. On many occasions, both the Minister of Health, Dr. Ehanire, and the SGF, who chairs the PTF, Barrister Boss Mustafa, have consistently said that we are welcome to involving this, okay? What we have not seen is other people falling into place with government's obvious prioritization. Because the natural thing is that when government indicates they've prioritized an area, development partners should now key into that area because it indicates that that's a national priority. When the federal government prioritizes an area, state governors should also key into an area. Philanthropists should also key into an area. And we've seen it with a lot of people donating testing vans, people donating isolation centers and people. But no, apart from Dr. Hanire and Barrister Boss Mustapha, who have consistently mentioned this, it's like every other person has drawn back. And so we need to be clear about it. Yes, the federal government has the responsibility to set policy priorities as well as provide funding. But we're not children. We know what's happening with government funding today. And if you don't bring in this obviously important aspect, it's not only government officials that will die. Everybody. It will affect everybody. So let's not start saying only government. No, that's the wrong approach. Everybody needs to get involved. In NIPRID, like I've said earlier on, we've developed a validation framework. If the northern governors, for instance, say we want to sponsor the validation of 10 products from the north, very quickly the southeast governors will say the same thing. You will find the southwest governors coming in. And this would generate income for them because if any product from that particular area comes up, they will own part of the patent.
No, Dr. Adigwe,
yes.
You're making a very important point. You've made a number of important points along with the other guests, but I would like you to recast what you have just said in terms of leveraging on the policy framework already provided by the federal government. You're saying, look, federal government alone cannot do this. Let others, development partners, donors, XYZ come in. You've tried to break it down by saying, look, northern governors, southeast, all various kinds of fora, what would you expect of them? Just restate it.
So you can, there is already a framework for validating herbal medicines and phytomedicines. There is a framework for progressing these interventions through clinical studies. The problem is that there is a funding gap. Some of these practitioners have written to us, and by the time we give them the true bill for validating and taking it to the next level, it's 20 million. They can't afford it. So a group of entities, say for instance, regional governments or philanthropic partners, for instance, can say, well, for these products that are from this part of the country, or for these products that our organization indicates that we have interest in, can you, from your database, pick out 5 that have been submitted, and we will pay for the validation of those 5. And I'll give you an example. One of the entities that approached us from the Francophone countries said to me, if we give you $100,000, for instance, for Niprimion to progress it through scientific, through clinical studies, will you be prepared to give us 10% of the patent? So these guys who are validating can also talk to the owners of the interventions and say, without clinical trials, without clinical studies, you cannot move from where you are to where you need to get to. Are you prepared to allow your state government own 10% of your intervention if it becomes successful? So all those things are on the table, and this is where everybody now needs to, get to the level of priority that the federal government has set.
Well, Dr. Ben Amodu, you want to come in here just before you do, but let's get something clear. When Dr. Adigwe says 20 million, I don't think 20 million can buy any of these bulletproof cars that we see them driving around with sirens.
Can't.
Okay.
More than that.
All right.
Broadway alone is getting to 50, 100 million thereabout.
Okay.
Following from the contribution of DG NIPRID, right now, WHO has projected a $5 trillion coming from herbal medicine. So it has become a very big business, $5 trillion from this year in the next 5 years. That is the projected revenue from herbal medicine. So we should take it as a big business, as a means of diversifying the economy of Nigeria. There's nothing wrong in properly funding NIPRIT. All the works I did on Sabmal about 15 years ago was done for me in NIPRIT. And when it went internationally, it got accepted to the extent that the Indian Journal of Medical Research, which is a journal of over 145 years old, published it in August of 2014. And by that publication, when you have an evidence, that's the end of argument, So my thinking is that with all the donations we have had, talking about the governors, talking about the various development partners, they should move into the herbal sector and help us quickly so that we can diversify our economy through that. Because right now, the petrodollar is very, very down internationally. Ajokuta has just kick-started to develop the metal this thing. As for the herbal medicine, the fruits, they are just hanging for us to, and I'll give you a short example. Some American scientists visited me, took 5 of my anti-cancer products to the US, and I started with the analysis of one for colon cancer because of the preponderance of colon. They saw that it could also cure lung cancer, and they did the 2, and they got 89% in both cancers. And this product was tested in NIPRIT and was found to have anti-cancer properties. And when they went there, they found one doing 2. So those who criticize and open their mouth too much about what herbal medicine can do, I think it's better. It's better not to over-criticize, because for infectious diseases, herbal medicine is the way out. In the same analysis, they found that the 3 megabugs, which is devastating the entire world, what are they? Staphylococcus, E. coli, Salmonella. As I speak today, no country of the world has a clear-cut solution. In the UK, O'Neill Committee set up by the Prime Minister, what are the reasons for the health failures in the United Kingdom? Found out that even hip replacement operation is going to be difficult because of these 3 megabugs, and that they needed $100 trillion. Mycepha 6 was found to cure these 3 megabugs. That is why today we dissolve fibroid without operation. We dissolve fallopian tube, open it without the need for operative procedure. And if we let the international community aware of this, you can imagine Nigeria will become the center, the fulcrum of a number of treatments, including kidney stone dissolving, prostate cancer, and all the rest. The solutions are there. It is just for government. There are a number of things that are irreversible with the modern medicine. Enlarged heart is over 30 million naira operation. Herbal medicine reverses it. Prostate, no need for cutting again. You drink herbal medicine, it dissolves it, you piss it out. Asthma has no cure anywhere in the world. The Sapha 6, because of its lungs effect, we are able to manage this. And if you dominate that all over the world, unit cost of asthma treatment or prostate cancer, which a friend told me did it for $12,000, and you can do it in Nigeria here. Tax and other things you make out of it. Even Nigeria occupying its position in the Committee of Nations. So please, we beg government to focus funding into NIPRIT. I was in Federal Ministry of Health, and they saw NIPRIT, 1 billion. A highly placed government official, what did he do? He just took his pen and crossed it. So what do they use 1 billion to do? What is 1 billion? In R&D, Sabmal, the level we have gone, a lot of millions have been spent on it. And today, in 15 minutes, 20 minutes, malaria is cured. Other viruses. So please, let's take ourselves seriously. Nigeria is a great country. Is the biggest in the black nations in the world. So but my happiness is that all these are going to be subjected together to a kind of an abridged trial. So if COVID-19 beat our own, let COVID, whatever, organic, whatever they call it, let it come up. If our own beats their own, let it be so.
Well, Dr. Ben Amodu and the other guests, gentlemen, we'll take a short break now.
The number of the COVID-19 cases in Nigeria is increasing daily, with many more tests ongoing. The battle of testing, isolating, treating, and attending to the affected persons rests heavily on the shoulders of our health workers, constantly putting their lives on the line and at risk to contain this virus, save and protect the lives of millions of Nigerians. To these health workers, we at the Nigerian Television Authority, NTA, on behalf of millions of Nigerians, say a big thank you for all that you have done and are doing. To the security agencies enforcing the lockdown and every other frontliner, we say thank you for putting your lives on the line to save ours. There is no amount of words that can quantify our gratitude. Thank you. This message is brought to you by the Nigerian Television Authority, NTA, Africa's largest television network.
Nigerians, coronavirus is dangerous. It can kill. When you see this sign, high fever, cough, shortness of breath, drowsiness, pneumonia, don't panic, don't hide, don't embark in self-medication. Promptly visit the nearest medical facility. Report all cases to the nearest hospital. Prevention is key. Avoid contact with infected persons. Avoid crowded areas as much as possible. Wash your hands regularly. Use hand sanitizers. Your life is precious. Stay alive. Live long, live right. This message is sponsored by the Federal Ministry of Information and Culture and the Nigerian Film Corporation. Nigerian Film Corporation, powering possibility.
Cadbury Hot Chocolate 3-in-1, a delicious combination of rich cocoa and wholesome goodness of milk. Just add hot water to get an instant chocolatey treat. Cadbury Hot Chocolate 3-in-1. Just add hot water. Available in stores at 18 naira.
As a strong immune system increases the chances of victims surviving COVID-19, a corruption-free society creates opportunities for citizens to thrive and prosper. Build your immunity. Stop corruption now. Report all acts of corruption to ICPC on this toll-free number 0800 22554272. This message is brought to you by ICPC and NTA.
It's good to know you're still there, and we have a number of tweets that came in. Nigerians would like to contribute to our conversation this morning. I'll start with Law Alfasi. It's good news that President Muhammadu Buhari has sent for the Madagascar herbal medicine, and more emphasis should be paid to the recipe used to cure Governor Sheyi Makinde of Oyo State and Governor Muhammad of Bauchi respectfully, in view of the fact that fatalities are increasing.
Well, this is from Dada Stephen with the handle Steve Bond. Madagascar is making progress. There are many herbal practitioners here in Nigeria with the potential of getting a remedy, but it seems the government has ignored them. It's time to assist Nigerian local herbal doctors.
And David Apple tweets, please, we shouldn't neglect what we have already. Let's try that of Madagascar and Nigerians' own. We should not put all hope on Westerners. Ibrahim
Abdulsalam Bello tweets, it's high time we build trust in our abilities to proffer solutions to our problems in our own way. If we advocate for homemade goods for local consumption, then there's nothing wrong in embracing our herbal medicines and remedies for treatment. Let's look inwards for solutions.
And Chris Simon tweets, Madagascar has done a good job for working tireless to come out with medication and vaccine that can put an end to the dreaded pandemic. It's actually not a vaccine, it's a remedy. AU and Nigerians should appreciate it. It's a welcome development. Nigerian Association of Medical Practitioners and Doctors, Iris Medical Foundation have also done well for the research findings they've carried out to find a cure for coronavirus disease.
Innocent Yawa James, Nigeria is endowed with what it takes to have its own drugs for COVID-19 locally. Natural and human resources aren't a problem, but politics. Those who claim to have a remedy were not contacted.
And Osita Chibuke tweets, I am not surprised that Nigeria has quickly ordered Madagascar herbal medicine for COVID-19, but nobody even considered it was claimed to cure the same disease. Our leaders always depend on for Western medicine.
All right, Musa said there's no better solution to COVID-19 in Nigeria other than fixing our health sector. The Madagascar herbal and every vaccine will come to pass, but our peculiar problems need to be attended to.
And Nandam G. Web tweets, delay, it's dangerous. It's about time to believe in our ability, go back to the roots and stop waiting on the Western world as usual to solve problems. We already have answers. So God help Nigeria and deliver Nigerians.
All right, this one is coming from Ruben Nagberi. It says the Madagascar experience has indicated yet again that the solution lies within us as a continent, that's Africa. In such a time, teamwork, faith, and experience should be the driving force of research to end the scourge of COVID-19. I would like to commend the Nigerian president for taking the bold step to order for the herbal medicine. But the lesson to take home is for government to encourage productive research and development in country, because we have good brains here and we also have the raw materials.
And Innocent Jawal James tweets, if we have the technology to subject COVID organic to proper scientific tests, why can't we call the best brains, which of course we have them available to prefer local solutions? Do we have to wait for WHO and Western world?
Amobola Humbabs says that Nigeria is considering the test of Madagascar herbal solution is a big slap on us as a nation. Why don't we cherish our own, except when they're outside Nigeria? We have seen professors at home here who came out to say they can provide herbal cure. Why not try them? Why go out?
And Yakubu Abdullahi tweets, herbal medicine is what we have been using for long. It's even more effective than what I call Oyibo drugs. I'm very sure that Nigeria's herbal medicine will cure coronavirus.
Cecilia Okoroma is one of our regular tweeters, says we must firstly learn to believe in ourselves, that what the white man can do, the black man can do even better. Professor Iwu, as a pharmacologist, said he has a remedy for COVID-19. Let's give him a chance. Herbal remedy for the treatment of COVID-19, if we believe, can help.
And Oyebuchi McTurney Ezenwa tweets, COVID Organics CVO is already working in Madagascar and we are yet to consider it. Many Nigerian medical researchers have come out with solutions. Africans, Nigerians should value what we have. This is the lesson of the pandemic.
Now, Adamu Estefanos tweets, says that the federal government should not hesitate in COVID organic trial in the current predicament we are in. Waiting for WHO for solution while our economy is shrinking will worsen the matters. Local trial is paramount now.
And Willie Ajeba, the use of Madagascar medicine is in order. If it works, thanks to God, it's a solution. We need to stop the spread and death caused by the disease rather than waiting endlessly for Nigerian-made vaccine at the expense of loss of lives.
Eno Ayuk, coronavirus is not an easy virus to get rid of, especially when in a human body cells, due to how its genetic makeup is. Any herbal drug used as a remedy must be potent enough to denature its single strand. We must go into more herbal research to get it right.
And Mike tweets, herbal medicine can interact with pharmaceutical. If the clinical trial shows that a therapy works, it's good medicine.
We have this, it says Yahya Wada, we have to believe in our own while waiting for vaccines from elsewhere. Can't we focus on our own?
And Nolly Craft tweets, good morning Kinsley and Jume. Kudos to your good work. It's a high time we begin to use what we have to bring solutions to our problems. We have men and women in Nigeria that can help to develop local medicine to cure this monster called COVID-19. The federal government must engage them urgently.
P.A. Oyebanje says, how long does it take a nation to validate a product? The Ministry of Health needs restructuring.
And Cecilia Okoroma again, thank God we have a government led by inward-looking visionary President Buhari and CBN Governor greatly supporting our farmers and local industries. Well, I think rice growers are encouraged and funded. We have rice in abundance. Support our herbal drugs too. We shall find COVID-19 cure.
That's right. That's a message to the Central Bank of Nigeria, I believe.
Yes.
That's a direct message.
Yeah, that's a direct
that's to say
message
that,
to
fine, if you're funding rice value chain, you're funding SMEs and so on and so forth, why don't you also fund alternative medicine? It looks like alternative medicine has been neglected, but Adigwe has indicated that, look, you can get crowdfunding from zonal governments or various all kinds of fora, whether progressive governors or opposition governors or, wherever they are. Salisu Abdul Kadri says the science of medicine began from herbs. So those are the tweets that will accommodate in the meantime. Let's, unfortunately, we get pressed for time, always. Dr. Mohammed Jawa, we're coming back to you.
Yeah.
Listening to what the other guests have said, plus what you also indicated, now it's to say, look, from all that is there, there's no paucity of human capital for this. In other words, the experts are available. Presumably also, there's no paucity of raw materials, because if we look around us, we would find them. So how then do we move to the next stage? In terms of, say, look, trying to validate the claims, or trying to even further encourage those who are into research to do more research, because beyond this, you have other things that need to be out there. Adigwe mentioned something. So, look, can we get governance to, either as a group or otherwise, help in funding the validation of the claims, and then also get into industrial production, and they will have their own interest in this. From your experience, is this feasible? And depending on your response, what more would you like to see?
Yeah, thank you very much. In fact, I really appreciate the effort of the government. The only thing I will say here is, over 20 years, Federal Ministry of Health has been making a lot of effort to see that integration of traditional medicine is actualized in Nigeria, and I'm directly involved. For the past 20 years, I've been working with Federal Ministry of Health in traditional medicine development. But the issue is, when WHO advised member countries to develop their own traditional medicine, China go back and look at what is their own, and they develop it, and they make claim it is their own, and they call it traditional Chinese medicine, meaning tradition of people of China in medicine. India follows suit, and India has their Ayurvedic medicine, and is very unique to India only. And they go to develop also Unani medicine, and they took it to WHO. And it has been approved by WHO as a therapy now globally accepted. The effort, a lot of effort were made to make Africans understand that they have their own unique practice. But unfortunately, we could not look inward. Most of our scientists feel that if you study conventional science, you are equal to the task to develop traditional medicine. It's not true. Traditional medicine is a field of science that has a lot of knowledge, and it has its own concept, theory, and principles of practice. Unless we come back, as other people have done, we come back and learn exactly what it is, and we make claim that it is our own, and nobody will come and challenge us, then there we can look for investors. We can ask the government, because we have uniformity of purpose. Now, if I said I'm developing African traditional medicine based on the principles of African traditional medicine practice, somebody will say he's developing alternative medicine. Somebody will say he's developing complementary medicine, as it is now in the Federal Ministry of Health. It cannot be comprehended. I cannot even understand. We were asked to develop African traditional medicine, and we have a regional office, WHO, developing African traditional medicine. Our head of governors met here in Nigeria for the over past 12 years, I think, agree to develop African traditional medicine. But the scientists resisted, that they feel what they are doing is African traditional medicine, which is not. So I'm calling on all our scientists, let's come back and develop what is ours. then we make claim, and also we make a request to fund it. Uniformly, it will be funded. But now, if you look at the research institute, they are diverse. Some are saying they are developing phytomedicine, some are developing herbal medicine, and some are saying they are developing traditional medicine. It's very difficult to convince a government or individual investor or corporate investors to come and put money, because they are not specific or they are not defined to cater for something. China is making a lot of money in herbal medicine or traditional Chinese remedies, but they are building on what they understood as this is what it will do in the body. Now, in our own case, some are looking at what it will balance in the body, while others are looking at the chemical component of it. It will balance this. If you are short of this, it will balance this, and it become what? Supplementary. We are looking for medicine to cure disease, to take care of, completely cure the disease. We are not talking of supplementary. We are not looking of complementary. We are looking for medicine that will take care of a disease, will eliminate it. So this is one aspect. And I really appreciate the effort of the government today as far as COVID-19 is concerned. I'm here, but I was facilitated by my state government. My state government wrote to the Federal Ministry of Health to consider the product we produce, because definitely they are in need of it. They will start giving it to patients, but the governor insisted that let it go through the normal process, because we are a government and we have to follow the protocols of the government. That's why I'm here. And they give me pass to come to Abuja. They give me letter to the Federal Ministry of Health to submit what I have, because they value it, they consider it, and they agree with what I've said here.
Which state are you? Which state is
Yobe
this?
State. Yobe State government facilitate my coming here. And they wrote a letter to the Federal Ministry of Health, because the Federal Minister called that every claim should be submitted to the ministry. They have a department, they have NIPRI that will take care of all this. But in my coming, I feel I will not just stop by submitting. After submitting the product with the letter to the Federal Ministry of Health, I took the samples to NIPRI and I paid for the analysis, acute toxicity study, because we need it. We need to see what we are giving people are not toxic. It's left to the federal government if they will do it or they will not do it. We will do it. My government, my state government will pay for it. And they have paid for it. We are ready to see that we scale through the scientific validation as expected by the government. And we will do our best. I thank them very much for considering this, my effort. And also I am expecting other state government also to look inward, so that by coming in, putting pressure, because Madagascar's president insisted that he will use it. Yes. After all rejection from everybody, the highest advisory body in health is WHO. They rejected it. They said it has to undergo this, but he said they have done it, and it will not kill their people. Yes. They have given it. Now in Nigeria, they are saying we will not subject our people to herbal medicine. We will not kill our people. It has to undergo a... What analysis does this need? This one is what? The claim is to balance the temperament of respiratory system, improve the function, clear the airways, and also boost the immunity. This is the claim here. And it contains antiviral activity that definitely the substance we claim will clear the virus is here and has been tested globally. We are not putting anything very new. It has been used in Africa for over 5,000 years too.
All right, Dr. Jawa, thank you very much. Thank you very much for your perspective. Professor Ernest Ugo, back to you in our Enugu Network Center. You know, the last time we took on Search for Solutions, which was one of the excerpts we took in the introduction to this conversation this morning, Professor McDonald Edu, who is of the University of Benin, is also into phytomedicine research, did say, look, in a sense, the knowledge is out there, but of course, if knowledge is not cheap to acquire, nor is it cheap, to agglutinate and then use it for a specific purpose. Well, we are discussing in the context of COVID-19, but we do know that post-COVID-19, our health crisis will still remain. What, therefore, would you like to see for us to overcome the current tide of COVID-19 and then get into a new phase of healthcare that sufficiently recognizes and even utilizes alternative, complementary, or herbal medicine, so-called?
Thank you very much. As I said earlier, the government is making some efforts, but more efforts are definitely required. From my own part of medicine, homeopathy, we don't have so many problems. It's just a matter of sensitization and encouragement. I have some samples of the medicines here. This is aconite, well packaged, and we have arsenicum album, which is being used in India, well packaged. Why I say we don't have too many problems with this branch of medicine is that the medicines have no side effect. The way they are diluted in infinitesimal doses makes these medicines harmless. The COVID-19 pandemic definitely requires all branches of medicines to be encouraged, whether it is homeopathy, because these homeopathic remedies are already listed by NAFDAC. We don't have many problems. We have passed through the toxicity test and all the tests required, except in the clinical trial. The other branches of medicine, like the phytomedicine, you mentioned Professor Idu is my friend. He's a professor of phytomedicine. The phytomedicines are produced in Nigeria. They are manufactured here. And whatever tests, whatever trials are supposed to be done should be done by the Federal Ministry of Health and their agencies. They have the NAFDAC and the other agencies, and they should be done as quickly as possible so that we can help our people. Some of my own colleagues have been asking me, why are we not called by government? Why are we not called to participate in the treatment? And I tell them, little by little, by the grace of God, we shall be called. And this development now we are seeing is very, very, very encouraging. Then the other question you asked, post-COVID, we know that the economy of the world is not good, especially the African countries. And Nigeria, that has a mono economy based on oil, we're having this crisis. So we're also sympathizing with government, but government has a duty to equip the hospitals. The government has a duty to encourage the health centers in the villages, the district clinics, all these extension clinics, so that the treatment can get to the rural poor. It is very, very, very important. The Minister of Health definitely is working very hard with his colleagues. But I know that the problem is funding. It will involve everybody. The National Assembly, the Presidency, the state governments, the houses of assemblies in the states, everybody should be involved.
Okay, thank you so much, Professor Ernest Ugo, Professor of Homeopathic Pharmacology and Chiropractics, and also President Nigeria Institute of Hemophilia. Thank you so much for coming on the program. We'd also like to thank Dr. Mohammed Ibrahim Jawa, founder and president, MIJ College of Traditional Medicine and Acupuncture, and president, African Traditional Medicine Association of Nigeria. It's been a pleasure having you on the program.
Thank you very much.
Dr. Obi Odigwe, Director General, Nigerian Institute of Pharmaceutical Research and Development. As always, it's a pleasure.
Good to be here.
And Dr. Ben Ahmadu, Managing Director, African Alternative Medicine Hospital, Abuja, Clinical Director, Abuja, Fellow Pharmaceutical Society of Nigeria, and Fellow Complementary and Alternative Medicine. He is also lead phyto-medicine researcher. Thank you so much for coming on the program.
Thank you, sir.
Sports Update is next.
No professional sport even